Hey, what's up? I'm Pascal from Orangepixel. Welcome to another video, and this video is a Q&A. Last week I was on vacation. I skipped a week, which I think is the first week I haven't uploaded a video in 5 years, 6 years, something like that. I just needed a break and I had no other content. Now for this video I asked for questions 2 weeks ago, and luckily, thanks to those that actually dropped the question, we now have a video. So this week, simple, quick Q&A, questions about everything except the universe, because all right, calm down, had a relaxing vacation, let's do a little Q&A. Also, this is the living room. I haven't recorded here for I think almost a year, so a lot of you might have never seen this setting, but we're gonna answer some questions in this setting after the intro. Alright, so in no particular order, I just wrote down the questions I had on the video 2 weeks ago, and let's just see what we got. First question from Burmese Guy Coding. Do you have any plan to share 2D game development with lessons? I had this question a lot over the last couple of years, and the answer is simply no. Not that I wouldn't want to, but I think there's a lot of stuff to cover. I simply don't have the time to create lessons or courses for that. But also the tools that I use, I wouldn't really recommend them to others getting into the industry. If you haven't learned how to code, learning Java and libgdx and custom code and stuff might not be the best thing or the first thing you should learn. So there are better tools out there, and there are also a lot of people out there that can do a bunch of better courses and lessons than I can. Next question from Logic Studios. Are you watching the Netherlands in the Euros? Yes, and I'm recording this yesterday on Wednesday, so the semi-final is tonight against England. Yeah, not sure who's gonna win. I think it will be a pretty close match. Now normally I don't watch all this football stuff. I loved it as a kid, I loved playing it, I was pretty good at it, but I kind of lost interest watching it. But the Euros or the World stuff, yeah, I'm always watching that. Links, how was your experience working with publishers and would you recommend it? That's a little bit hard to answer. Yeah, I would recommend it, but I would also warn you to make sure you're going with the right publisher. There are so many different types of publishers, and some will be good, some will be bad, so you always have to figure out if it feels right. I think I made a video here and there about it. You can't just put it on a general heap, but if you got a good publisher and they offer you a good deal, there's no reason not to go with it. So yeah, I would recommend it. Just make sure you know who you're dealing with. Next question from Glaykun. Did you have to gain confidence to sell your games? And if so, what did that process look like? Yeah, I think the first game I had to sell or put live out there and actually ask money for it, that was certainly strange. But it's something you just have to do, and something just you have to jump that hoop and go through it. It's not about confidence, just more tempering or lowering your expectations. Selling your first game, I think this was back on the mobile days, so not smartphones, but old Nokias and stuff like that. A very different market, and I think I jumped into the air that I actually sold maybe 5 copies for like 60 cents per copy, or that's what I earned back in those days. It was very different market, but it was interesting. Selling your first game, once you do that, you can't go back, and you'll just keep making games and selling games, and hopefully you sell more and more. It's mostly about tempering or lowering your expectations and just doing it. Just put that game out there, ask money for it. You might not sell a lot of copies, doesn't matter, just ask money for it. And your work and your time that goes into creating these games is worth something, so it's not a shame to ask money for it. You just have to do it. Ruden Sprites, how long do you typically support your games for after launch? Is there a system used to decide how long? I don't really have a system. It's mostly a gut feeling. When I release a game, I know I will be pushing updates. There will be bug fixes or things people run into, or might not be bugs, but things that people prefer another way. And if a lot of people want it another way, why not create it that way if it's possible? So I always have updates pushed in the early weeks of releasing a game. And then it's just a matter of how much content can you still add? How much do you still enjoy pushing updates, and do you still sell copies, and is it worth it to keep the game alive? Are there still people playing the game, people still finding out the game? And at some point you move on to the next game, but it's mostly a gut feeling. How much do you enjoy it? How much are people enjoying it? And if that's a certain level or both at a certain level, keep pushing updates. And they don't have to be huge updates every time. They can be just tiny changes or maybe one new monster or whatever. But every little update is just an interesting thing to talk about on social media and get people back into the game and play it again. And that's a good thing. The Black Birdie, why don't you use Keymailer? I actually have used Keymailer a couple of times also on my last game, Gauntlet of Power. But so far, every time I used it, I haven't really seen much value from it. I used the free version. There are various paid versions and levels. And just based on what they offer as a free service and the quality of streamers that want a key from you and things like that, I just don't think the Keymailer is worth it. And not just Keymailer, but it goes for most of these services. There should be value there as they have a bunch of YouTubers and Twitch streamers and whatever. But I don't think they vet or check these contacts enough, or that having your game in there and having those Steam keys available to these streamers is actually resulting in sales on the back end. Or they might pick up a key, they might do a video about it. Often they picked up a key and did no video about it. I have seen that happen as well. Anyway, long story short, I don't use Keymailer and I wouldn't recommend them. I think it's more valuable to just collect email addresses and contact information on the various streamers and Twitch people and whatever that you think fit your game, and then just send them an email personally. That might take a couple of days work, but I think that's actually cheaper than paying for one of these key mailing services. And the results are probably better as well. Okay, so next question from Draathai. Never mind. Have you earned enough money from the game to buy the janitor a new broom? He's been saving up for it, and to be fair. Yeah, the janitor in Gauntlet of Power, he is asking for a new broom. We're still negotiating what he actually needs and what we can afford, and it's a long discussion. Takashi 87. So you are happy with the game's sales and the reviews? Did it go as you had hoped planned? Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes and no. I think the game did pretty well. I'm very happy with the results. We right now have a very positive rating on Steam with 52 reviews, I think. So more than 90% is positive. So I think that's pretty good. But the sales kind of dropped slightly, or the amount of new sales dropped. Still, there is an event coming later this month, and the game will be in that, and I'll be pushing more and more of these things. I got an update going. So overall, I think it went pretty well. I just wish it did even better, I guess, because the game is pretty good, and I really like the game, and I really had high hopes for it. But it's doing good, but it's not doing extremely good. And it would have been nice to have a game that did extremely good for once on PC. Next question, where do you find inspiration for games? Is there things you do when deciding what game to do? And perhaps in addition to that, how do you decide on game loops? Well, that's two questions. All right. For inspiration for games comes from pretty much everything. I just want to create a certain thing based on something I saw in another game, or based on a feeling, or something in a comic book, or something in a cartoon, or in a movie, whatever. It can come from everywhere. And then I just want to try and create something fun out of that. So that's pretty much where inspiration comes from. And like every game developer probably has a list of ideas. Ideas are more than nobody has. There, if you're a game developer and if you do not have a long list of game ideas you would like to try, you're probably not really a game developer, because these ideas come and come and come, and you'll never have time to create any of all these ideas, because once you finish your current game and you release it, you'll probably jump on a completely different idea that was never on any of these lists. So yeah, ideas, we have plenty of them. Just getting around to making them, that's the hard part. How do you decide on game loops? Well, that's the prototype stage. You have this idea and you try to create it into something fun. And before you start adding everything, make sure that core stuff is up and running and it's actually fun to play. And based on that, you build the rest of your game. And yeah, that's just a prototype phase. And if you can't make it fun, it's probably best to move on to the next idea. Next question from Duncan Harris. Sure, you need a holiday, but surely you are stressing about how games reception will play out when you are off grid. How are you dealing with that? Well, not with whiskey or anxiousness or short tempers. I actually scheduled at least 2 weeks, I think, after the release, so I had some time to process everything that came in, made sure I could do updates to the game and reply to everybody that ran into issues or problems. And after that, the game is out there, like all my other games are out there, and every now and then people will find something or an issue, a bug or a problem in any of my released games on any of the platforms, and you just deal with it by fixing it and pushing an update. And in a game that just released, by the time I went on vacation, it was pretty much done. It was out there, the release was done, it was going great, it was going well, it was still selling. So there was no anxiousness or anything like that. It's just part of the business. The game is out there, it's live now, it's going to be released on Switch. There are going to be more releases of this same game. And if we run into stuff, we'll fix it and we'll push an update. So no stressing about the game's release. It was already done. All the stressing was done. That's mostly just pushing the release button. And once people start playing it, hope they actually like it. And once they started all liking it or mostly liking it, except for a couple of bad reviews, most people liked it. Like I just said, very positive reviews. So the stressing was pretty much gone. I knew the game was good and there were no weird things happening or weird stuff happening on people's PCs. So yeah, all stressing was gone. Anthony Valdez, question, what's a practical way to set goals, milestones during production? What's the hardest part of estimating a timeline? I think the hardest part is if you have no experience in what you're doing. Estimating scope, how big your game should be and how much time you could spend on development and all those things, that comes with experience pretty much. If you want to create a big game, make sure you know how to create a big game. Make sure you know how to understand how to make it smaller little pieces here and there and how you can attach those and link those into one bigger project. But it all is based on experience. You can't learn how to plan stuff if you've never been in those situations and you have no idea what to plan for. You have no idea what things you will run into. You never know which problems or issues you'll have to figure and solve and find and experience pretty much. So just create a lot of games. That's kind of it. And start small. Don't go for those big projects because it's not just the milestones and the scope and the timeline of development. It's also the releasing. If you have no idea what to expect from game releases and what's coming your way when people actually start playing your games, you might want to do it first with a very tiny game and then grow your games bigger and bigger as you know what to expect and how to actually do it all. So I guess that's the best, that's the most practical way to set goals and milestones. Start with a small game. And your next game can be bigger because then you actually know everything you created and did in the first game. You can grab some of that stuff for your next game, build on top of that, on top of it, on top of it, until you have 10 games out of the door and you'll actually know what to expect for a huge game. Now moving on to the next and final question from Laurent. I read that a demo could help sell. What do you think? Since I lost the game, I'm receiving requests for keys by email to make reviews. What do you think of that? It doesn't seem very serious to me. Two-parter. Let's first start about the keys. If you get all these requests in your mailbox from people wanting 1 or 2 or usually more than 2 keys for their friends as well, those are scams pretty much. Also, their email addresses will look like they are the proper email address for a YouTuber, but there's often just a little tiny difference like the I or the small letter L or a 1 or an extra letter or 2 letters are twisted or whatever. They're very sneaky, but they're mostly just wanting Steam keys to either play the game for free or resell those keys on the gray market, which actually devalues your game on Steam, or if it's on Android, pretty much the same. Don't really go for these emails, and you get a lot of them, and then you also have a lot of people that want to help you localize it or publish and distribute it or whatever. Most of these are just not worth your time, except that you do have to check out for the one time that there's actually someone there that might be who they say they are and actually interesting for you to get in contact with. Now that brings us to the demo part. I think a demo might not help sell you copies. Is that a good sentence? Help sell you? Yeah. It might not help in selling copies, but I do think that having a demo up there is a good thing because people will get to sample your game for free. This means they know what they get if they decide to buy the game. This also means that people who might not like the game by playing the demo will not buy the game and then leave a negative review. So it helps in certain ways to make your game more interesting and also targeted towards the people that will enjoy it. So yeah, if you can do a demo, at least on PC versions, at least on PC market, especially Steam, if you can do a demo, do it. I think it only helps, and you can have it up there for like a year before you release your game, or even longer. You can still have it up there after the game is released. It can only help bring in people because the demo is free and everybody likes free stuff, so it gets downloaded a lot more. And with some luck, people will enjoy it and buy the full game. And this also ends the video from the living room. Now we have 5 cats in this space. I'm not sure if they got on camera because they're all kind of sleepy. Loki, Loki. All right, there's one over here. That's the youngest one, Loki. I think the last time I did a living room video, he was just like a little kitten. So he's grown by now, and I'm just gonna end the video here. I'm rambling. I have nothing left to say. That's it for this week's video. Like, subscribe, comment below, hop on the Discord, say hi to me or whoever is there, and thanks for watching. Yeah, that's it. Bye.